Hey everyone, it's Little Lollycat here and I am back with more reviews. So today I am going to be reviewing the Barebum Diaper, which I believe is from ABU, although I'm not sure if they started as an ABU one or not, because I didn't see them, done as an ABU one to begin with. Because they cropped up quite a while ago, like a year or so ago from when I first saw them, and now they finally made it to the UK through Nappies R Us, which is where I got this. I got a couple of samples. They are reasonably cheap because they cost about £3.95 for a sample, which I saw them at LBL and almost bought more stuff, but didn't. So I will be honest, my first impressions of them weren't very great because I don't like the look of them, and I know lots of people will kill me for saying that, and lots of people were like, but they're so pretty. But honestly, to me, it looks like Tiger Bulls and Bambino had a love child that nobody wanted, because it's got the blue sides but done wrong with the pinstripe, which I am not a fan of the pinstripe. I'm sorry, I'm just not. And then the blocks, which just aren't quite as cute as the Bambino blocks, and they're just basically clip arty blocks, and to me it looks like there's too many of them. Although I do appreciate the fact that it doesn't just say ABDL repeatedly on them, because I am not a fan that they kind of do that on a lot of things. But I do... Well, that out of the way. I will say I do somewhat like some of the colours. I'm not a fan of the green in there. And the yellow is not all that viewable. You can kind of see it in that light, but honestly, from this distance it kind of looks more like a blur. Not that my eyes need tested, it's just that I'm sitting in a yellow light and they kind of meld in, and I always have that little thing with yellow and dips where I'm like, it kind of looks like pee and it's not been used, so that's a bit off-putting. But yeah, so it has no waistband on the front, but it does on the back, so beware of flappy front. More things to say. It does have the two tabs on each side, which are about 2 inches apart, which is pretty good. They are higher up than some dips, but overall the dip is shorter than, I would say, like Space and Little Paws are. Space and Little Paws come quite high on me, these ones don't so much. They set more similarly to Tekables and like Doys sort of size. You know, the height difference. They have standing leg guards. The full front looks like this. They are a little bit smaller made than most ABUs. Once again, they set more similar to Tekables or Doys, so be aware of that when you're ordering. I do like the fact that they're 2 tabs. You can see, obviously the plastic is quite see-through. It is quite clear. But I'm just not, like I've said, I'm just not a fan. It does have the blue inside, which means a couple of things. It means, as some of you know, that the factory in this area is supposed to put more sap so that it's more absorbent, but it doesn't always necessarily mean that. Some places just print it on, so you've got to be aware of that. But after trying these, I think that they might have actually put it there, which is good. They are for an ABDL diaper, they're about like mid-thickness. They're not the biggest. They are soft, quite crinkly. They have a landing strip, and that's most of the aesthetic things. So, like I've said, they're not the most expensive, and honestly, I put off trying them when they first came to the UK because I just didn't like how they looked. I think something in my head thinks that they look quite cheap, like some other brands. No, they look quite cheap. And in my head, because they look quite cheap, I was a bit wary of them and I didn't think they would hold up. I expected something more like my diaper sort of function than what I actually got. So I tried these out, and I tried these out on a night when I was drinking and I wasn't actually being little, so I was actually just testing them. And I will say they held up fairly well. I only wore them for about 5 or 6 hours at a push, which meant that I peed a few times in them, like 4 or 5 times, and that was definitely like the end of their limit sort of thing. I wouldn't have pushed it much further than that without being a bit worried about leakages. But they actually did quite well. I was very, very surprised, and obviously I was drinking, so I was peeing even more, and I pee a lot anyway, and that's a really weird thing to say on the internet. But I would actually recommend them to try. I will say I don't think I'll be buying them because of the aesthetic look of them. They don't appeal to me aesthetically, and I think for me a big part of like dips and stuff is the way they look. If they make me feel little, then I will wear them and be happy and feel little. These did not make me feel little. They did, however, prevent any accidents, which is handy. I will say, obviously, yeah, like they were, for a sample pack, they were like $3.95 for 2, which is really good, and usually sample packs are closer to $5 sort of thing. So I will suggest them, I will, but I will also say that there are much cuter ones out there that look far better and will have the same sort of hold up. I will say I was impressed by the tabs, because I have had a lot of issue lately with tabs because I started wearing Bambinos again a couple of times, and for some reason, I don't know if I run too hot for them or something, but every time the bottom left tab, I will start heating up and the adhesive melts, and then it stops holding up. I like woke up one day and like the entire side was off, and I was just like, oh because I was sleeping in a bunk bed with other littles, and I was like, oh, I'm gonna have to like sneak out without revealing myself, and this is gonna be really uncomfortable. So I actually reapplied the tab on this one, and while it migrated a small amount, it didn't give up on me, which is a huge deal. So I definitely will recommend them, especially if it looks more similar to what you would like. I think they are a good sort of cheaper alternative, although I still prefer Preschools, although even the preschool cloth, I have issues with the tabs more than the plastic for some reason. Don't ask me why. I don't know if it's something to do with like what you're sticking it on. It just doesn't seem to hold up the same. But yeah, I'd say they were worth a shout. They're worth a shout. If you're in the UK, they're obviously available from Nappies R Us, which is where I got mine. They had a bundle of them at LBL, and I almost considered it, but honestly, like, the looks of it is a huge deal breaker for me. I know, I'm a snob, but you know, they are also sold by ABU in the US, I believe, so there you go. And hopefully this is somewhat helpful and I'm not just rambling on, but yeah, they're definitely one of the ones that are worth a shot. They hold up more, but I would say that they're soft, but I think they look a bit cheaper. And I don't like the design, and I'm so biased because I don't like the design. Okay, so I shall say bye for now. Bye everyone!